The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
And welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast. I'm Mandra Biscornet, and I believe everyone has a story to tell. What's yours?
Deborah Monk, encouraging you to find your creative voice.
And we don't have Shelley Devlin today here with us, but we do have a special guest, Miss Katie Boyd.
Yes, and I don't think she's going to have any trouble finding her creative voice.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm just excited because your music was so pornographic, so it's like I'm ready to rock.
Good way to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
At 9 a.m. on this Tuesday morning.
That's always when I like to really get my porn music in, is 9 a.m.
Right.
On a Tuesday morning.
Best
Oh, God,
way
no.
to start your day.
I can barely
Well, in
get
that
here.
case, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yes.
That's right.
Love it.
Katie is the host of the Ambitchious Podcast right here at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. She is a fitness guru, and I'd say mindfulness guru as well.
Depends on what day you're talking to me.
Right. Which part of the body you're working on.
Exactly.
And soon-to-be author. Katie has finished the first round of her book, and it is also called Ambitchious, and she is here to talk about her writing process and that journey with us.
Oh, my.
First we need to teach her about branding because
I know nothing
she
of it.
already has a shirt with the book title
Right.
on it.
No,
Right.
I actually trademarked this word already.
really.
So it's trademarked, and I actually just got my certificate where they put like the golden stamp of approval from the government. Like, you are official last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are officially ambitious.
Yes. And the word ambitious actually popped up during a meditation. So I meditate twice a day, every day. And I feel like when you really quiet your mind, that's when like the best stuff comes to you. When you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off all the time, you really can't be a creative.
Right.
I think it's so important also during the book writing process to be in that calm space, because if you're just going too hard all the time, you lose a 40,000 word manuscript like I did last year.
Right, that had to hurt.
Yeah. A little bit.
No.
Oh, you didn't know that story?
No.
Yeah. So long story short, I was writing outside in the sunshine. It was like the first couple nice days we had like last spring.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, of course, smoking his cigar, goes, "Oh, you want to come outside and write? You're being a hermit." And I was like, you know what? I should. So I went outside and I said to him, I was out there for like half an hour and it started to get really warm. And I said, I'm going to go inside because my laptop is getting really warm and I'm so afraid to lose my manuscript. I affirmated it. I swear to God, and my grandmother's
Yeah, you
soul.
did. You brought that right into your space.
And I'm smarter than that because I'm like, this is what I teach, right? And all of a sudden the book just went, "Bow." And of course I was like, oh, it's fine. Like I have a backup
It's
to a
got to be in there
backup.
somewhere, yeah.
Not zero.
Oh, were all the backups in the same computer?
Everything went. The whole thing.
Did you have a hard copy?
No.
That hurts.
See,
Yeah.
I believe there's a gremlin inside the
Oh,
computer.
100%.
And he's hungry eating my words.
It's the same person. It's the same gremlin that steals your sock out of the dryer, so you only have one sock.
Oh, I don't care about that. He can have all my socks. I print everything.
You're so smart. But see, this is why it's so amazing what you guys do, because there's so many potential writers, authors in the world that are just like, I have no real reason why I'm even doing this, but I'm going to write this book because it's in me.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know like the real deal, like someone who's already written a book to say, hey, back up your backup.
Right.
I
And
know.
just print a hard
And
copy
print a
every
hard
once in a
copy.
while.
But
Yeah.
if my house burns down, my computer's there and that's
well,
there
there's only
too.
so much you can do. You could leave a copy
Absolutely.
at my house.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because my girlfriend's husband works for the FBI in Connecticut. And I called her and I was like, you have to help me, because I went to like the Geek Squad, the Nerd Mobile, like all these people that try to recover your stuff. And he is like this amazing FBI agent. And he's like, dude,
It's
I
gone.
don't know what happened. So for like 24 hours, I had a legit nervous breakdown, like sobbing, ugly Kim Kardashian crying face for like 24 hours. And then I just said to myself the next day, I was like, dude, if you don't write this again right now,
Right.
you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
You're never going to do it. So I just got back on that baloney pony. I wrote it into the sunset the next day. And I wrote the entire book in 3 days from scratch with no notes, with nothing. And
Do you
it's-
think it came out better?
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
So it was like a blessing in disguise,
Yeah.
you know, because people always ask me that question when I tell them how I lost my book. And I said, absolutely 100% yes. So it was like God,
Right.
you know?
Maybe he knew you didn't know how to edit yourself, so he just said, "I'll just take that away. You'll have to redo
Just
it all
start
over."
fresh.
Exactly.
So I was going to ask you, like, how did you hold yourself accountable to writing? But it sounds like you just banged this thing out in 3 days.
Yeah. And
So
then
when was that?
that was last May. And then from there, so I wrote the whole entire thing in 3 days. And then I just like,
Roughly how many pages?
I don't know how many pages, but
Or
it was like
words.
about, right now it's at like 65,000 words.
Okay.
And at the time when I lost it, it was like right around 40,000 words. Yeah.
So you increased it by half.
Absolutely. So that's what I've been kind of doing in the meantime is like I rewrote the book from what I had, and then I kept going back in and editing it and tweaking it and moving things and adding things and taking
Right.
taking
Yeah.
things away. And
Yeah.
maybe if I heard a really amazing quote, I'd say, oh, that would be so good in this.
Where can I put that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what you've been doing since last May.
Yes.
And so now where are
A
you
lot
at?
of her own editing.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
I have
we
not
talked about
I have not had any outside editors.
Are you going to?
Yes.
Okay.
So every so often I have like this group of girls that I call my mastermind, and each one of these women like brings something different business wise to the table. And what I'll do is I'll Google Doc share my book with them every so often, and they'll go in and they'll give me their feedback because I trust them.
So it's like your writing group.
Right.
Absolutely. And I
Right.
trust these women, and they are my ideal client avatars, which I talk
Perfect.
about that a lot in my, because I teach a business with soul mastermind quarterly at my company. And these women just are my true ideal client avatars. Like, these are the women that I want to consume my book when it actually comes out.
So
Yeah.
they're your target audience.
Yes,
Like that's
100%.
So do you have a date in mind of when it's going to come out?
So we're going to do a pre-sale in October.
Okay.
And we're going to like launch it like full bore the first weekend in January because my astrologer told me that would be a really good time.
Why not before Christmas? It's a good gift.
Well, we're going to do a pre-sale before Christmas.
But then you can't really give that as a gift.
I know. No one deserves it yet until January 1st.
Okay. All right. You feel confident.
Well, it's my so I go by, I know you think I'm a kook, but I go by all what my astrologer says and like what's happening with the planets.
Where's your astrologer located?
She's in Florida. Yeah. So we do
Wow.
everything like Skype and FaceTime and stuff like that. Yeah. So she's been my astrologer for God forever. Yeah. Oh, I have astrologer. I have a shaman. I have a healer. I have
kind of check in with everybody. to see.
Yeah. I have a backup astrologer to my backup astrologer if I don't
Just
like
in
what
case.
my
But you don't
first
have a
astrologer
backup on your book.
No. See, this is the problem, right? Now I have that thing is like
Yeah.
it's wrapped in a full body condom at this point. Nothing's penetrating that book
Yeah.
It's safe.
unless I want to.
So you sort of had informal editing with this group of
Yes.
ladies, right?
Mhm.
And now, how did you decide to? Did you send it to a professional editor? Like, how?
So
what
that's
was
my
that
next.
process?
That's my next step.
That's your
Do you
next
have one?
step.
I have a couple that I'm looking at. One of
Yep.
the girls has been, you know how you have like a friend that you don't know why she's really around, but you really like her, but you don't know like how she fits in. So I have this one girlfriend who we talk like about fasting and just like weird stuff all the time. And come to find out, because she was a friend of a friend, she's a ghostwriter to like over 50 New York Times bestsellers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh,
That might work.
that's why you're hanging out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, so she's one of them, and then I have two other people in mind, but I'm trying to figure out like because
What's the best fit?
I'm a big personality, energy person, so I want to make sure that because for me the writing was so cathartic, and I thought it was like a lovely process.
Yeah.
I want the editing process to also kind of feel
Lovely
that way.
process.
Yeah.
What's she talking about?
After I had my nervous breakdown when I lost my book, after writing it has been a
then
nice
it became
process.
a lovely
Yeah.
process.
I don't know that I love it, but anyway.
I think for me, it's about it's catharsis because my book is so self-help, and like I say in the book, I went through all this trial by fire for the last 2 decades in my whole life, but the last 2 decades mostly, so that you guys who read this book don't have
to
you get
do
the
it.
cliff notes, like how to like
Right.
walk yourself through these hard parts of your life by using these principles, and yeah, crazy.
I had a question.
What's the ideal
Oh, I know.
age for one of your clients?
Like, what's my ideal client like age group? It's really funny because I think I have like 2 different spaces. So one in like these young women in college who are like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I remember being that age and being
Yeah.
like, where is my husband? Like I would like lay in bed at night and I'm like, he's got to be out there
Really?
somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that, and even when I have one,
Cut it out. Oh, poor thing. Yeah, it's so funny. Like when I was in college, I just thought like, you graduate and you like meet and you like
Yeah.
how we all
You're
think
on
in the fairy tale.
The track. The
trajectory
good girl track.
of
And that just didn't work out that way for me. And I talk about it a lot in the book how, I was in probably right out of college. I had just started my company like full force. I was making well over 6 figures. I was like living the dream from like the outside looking in. But every guy that I dated liked the idea of me.
Yeah.
But then when they got me, they were like, oh, this is a lot. This is a lot.
You are a lot.
I am.
Yeah.
But I know that.
I like it though.
Right. But not everybody does. And I don't care because they're not the seat
They're
for
not
my
your people.
ass. Yeah.
So
yeah.
who's the other age group?
And then the other age group are like these moms who I thought if I got married and had kids and then also like worked and made money that all of the wounds that I had from my whole entire life are just going to like magically close up. And I think the hardest thing for that age demographic is like realizing that none of that's going to fix you. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Right.
And I've kind of been in both shoes, where I've had the clothes and the cars and the vacations and the homes and all that stuff. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm still a miserable bitch. Like what is wrong with me? I thought this was going to fix me.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people like, because I'm 38. So that's where a lot of women, like I'd say probably like late 20s to like mid 40s to like, early 50s are just like, oh my God, where's the happiness?
Right. And I think those two stages of life, I think, when you have little kids, you're so busy doing.
Yes.
So I think before you have the kids, you ever at a launch pad of what am I going to do with my life? Once the kids grow up, I think you're kind of back in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of women will say like, well, once my kids leave the house or once my kids go to high school. And I'm like, girlfriend, and Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, always talks about it's called cooked in the squat. And he talks about biscuits, like how biscuits won't rise, they're cooked in the squat. It's the same thing with women. We're always like trying to rise and then we just go and trying to rise and then and it's like you can't say like when this happens, then I'll be happy because you'll never be happy because it's just this never ending, I call it like circling the drain,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Not
always
good.
when.
And it's not real.
So with a book like that, how did you decide on sort of the flow of chapters?
Yes.
Was it chronological or do you kind of have it based on lessons?
So for me, I always talk about the 6 life makers and breakers, right?
Okay.
So it's like relationships, money mindset, non-negotiable spiritual practices, your environment, and so on and so forth, right? So I broke each chapter down with what is this about? Right? This is one of the like relationships, for instance, like the good, the bad, and the toxic. Okay. What is this thing about relationships? And here's all the tools that you can have the best relationships possible, right? Because I don't know how you guys were brought up, but I was brought up like your family can hurt you, your family can do whatever they want to you, but they're your blood, so you have to like take it. So I didn't realize that that's not true until probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Same thing with friends. Like, well, I've been
I didn't
friends
know it
with
until Tuesday.
It's so
Right,
true.
right now, Deb's learning.
Right?
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is I have clients that I always say to, like, I don't want you to be on your deathbed someday and when you're laying there go, oh my God, I let everyone just shit all over me and I never stood up for myself. And now I'm going to die and I'm going to have all this within me that I never got to really express.
I heard a quote yesterday, relationships are not genetic. They're
Hello?
experience.
100%. And you choose your family in a lot of ways. Like so many of my close friends are more my family than my actual blood family, right? Or you have like friends from kindergarten and you're like, but I've been friends with her since kindergarten.
But I don't like her anymore.
But she sucks.
And she doesn't like me.
Exactly. Right. But we hold on to these relationships because we're afraid of the unknown. But the unknown is actually what is going to set you free, because every time you're afraid of leaping forward, it's like the universe is like, okay, well, I can't help you here. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not going to give you what you desire if you don't, like I always say, you got to name it to claim it. So if you desire like really rich relationships with people, you got to put yourself out there to have them. You can't keep, again, being in that hypnotic rhythm of like, bad friendships,
These are
toxic
my friends from high school that I always had.
And we're still talking about the same keg party from like 1994.
Right, that one really great night with the bonfire. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So
Time to
annoying.
move on.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I broke
like
it down.
those 6
Yes.
tenets
Yes.
that you organized.
And I talk a lot, I use a lot of my own, crazy stories, so I tell a bunch of stories and then I talk about how the tools that I use to help myself. And then I give actual real tangible tools because I do feel, because I've read like every self-help book in the world, pretty much from like 1937 to now. And I feel like a lot of them are like very theoretical, but they don't give you real tools. And I want real tools. Like I always say, like you have this like magical Louis Vuitton bag full of your tricks and your tools, and you have to pull the tricks and tools out for each appropriate job. And no one's going to do that for you. And I think that we as women, a lot of us, I'm not saying us three, but a lot of women out there are waiting for someone to come and save them. And
it's easier. It's lazy, and you're not responsible.
It's the whole princess,
and it's victim mentality,
right?
You know, and I actually talk about that in my book. There's a whole chapter about how we really can't say it's our fault in a lot of ways, because the way that I was raised, like my mom plopped me in front of a television with like Disney princess VHS movies. And I just thought like, you know, some guy that looks like he's out of the gay pride parade in New York is going to come save me. Right. And I can't even sew because like my woodland creatures are sewing my dresses.
Right.
And of course we get that victim mentality from the way that we were raised. Like I say in the book, like I still to this day, like want to brush my hair with a fork. Like Ariel used to like brush her hair with a fork. And I'm like, I still want to do that sometimes, you know, because we get very much hypnotized into what we
socialization.
110%, you know. So we can't really blame ourselves for the way that we thought growing up. But I always say, you know, it's not
you can make a change.
Yeah, it's not yourself it's not your fault if you're broken, but it is your responsibility to fix it.
If you stay broken.
That's right.
Right.
And that's really what it's all about.
What's sort of so you're going to do pre-sales.
Yeah.
What's sort of your publishing plan?
So I've had a couple of really big name publishers reach out to me because of, you know, having a television show and being in the public eye. And I just have this, and maybe you guys can give me some advice on this. I have this huge pull to self-publish because I am very much the type of person where I want to do what I want to do. Yeah. And I am super rogue, and I'm like an indigo child, and I'm anti-establishment. So if someone's telling me like, do it this way, I'm going to be like, no,
right.
I'm going to do the opposite, which could be bad, right? Because I'm just such a rebel. So I have this huge pull to self-publish. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I have opportunity to do either way.
Right? So maybe, Deb, you can, because you've kind of done the traditional route and then the self-publishing route.
And so there's the part of me, I mean, after being traditionally published, I chose, my publishing house closed, so I would have had to find a new one, but I chose the second time to self-publish because I thought, since I have to do all the work anyway, this works. So I love that route because, you know, I felt like the cover that I did for my book was better than the one
that they did.
Yes. And then I repackaged the book. They were nice enough to let me have it back. But, you know, you look at all the big authors. Why are they still... Like, why is James Patterson? Maybe he is. He probably does have a little line. But why are they still staying with the big five? With the big five?
No.
So there's got to be something in it for them.
I think there's a level of legitimacy.
Yes.
Right.
Especially
at that level, they are legitimate. But there is a certain amount of pull still because the bookstores are going by the wayside. Everything's going online. You can order anything you want on the phone.
Everything.
But as far as getting into bookstores and being able to do large book signings and have a budget for that, most self-published authors aren't pulling the trigger on that. So you have a marketing budget, I would say, that goes along with if you get into one of the big five.
Right. Like, so Sandra Brown, you know, why doesn't she self-publish? And she doesn't. So my advice to you would be have meetings with anybody who's interested and find out what they're going to do for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Find out what percentage of their budget, of marketing budget, are they going to commit to you.
Right. I don't know if you saw, you know, Brene Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you see her Netflix special yet?
It's on my list.
Okay. Well, when you watch it, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But in this Netflix special, she talks about how her publisher they were choosing the book cover.
Yeah.
And how awful it was. Like there was one that was like just a giant elephant's ass. Like just an elephant, like turned this way or something like that. And I was just like watching this and like, of course I'm watching it and my anxiety is going up because I'm like, oh my God, if someone tried doing that to my book, I would like lose my shit. Right.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm still kind of, I mean, I obviously have to figure this out quickly.
You do. Well, you know Marie Forleo.
Of course. Well, she's one of my business coaches.
She's not self-publishing her book.
Nope.
So
crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, she self-published her first book that no one knows about.
Exactly. Right. And
Marie Forleo is a juggernaut.
And she has a platform now. So you would think, well, why wouldn't she?
Huge
she has
platform.
Her own team. She has her own platform. Why wouldn't she self-publish?
And you know Rachel Hollis, who wrote Girl Wash Your Face. So she actually self-published her first book, Girl Wash Your Face. And then what happened was all these publishers came in and they were like, yo, you just sold 750,000 books in 2.3 seconds.
By yourself.
Yep. What can we do for you? And maybe they gave her a really great deal.
And they picked it up.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I think you just see what they'll do for you. And if it's enough to counterbalance that.
I took the summer off to make these decisions. I'm not working at my brick and mortar studio the whole entire summer pretty much because I'm like, I just have to be in this space.
Yeah.
Because this is important.
Right.
I didn't like take a whole year out of my life to do this.
No Eat, Pray, Love for you?
So funny because
she wrote it in 3 days. She didn't need to go pray love somewhere.
I would like to eat, pray, love though right about now because that pasta in that movie looks damn good. Damn good. But it's funny because Melissa Gilbert, is it Melissa Gilbert? No.
Yes.
Yeah, Melissa Gilbert, right? She wrote that book. We were both interviewed by the Boston Globe and about meditation once, and me and her were talking. And
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Okay,
Melissa Gilbert is from
Little House on the
Prairie.
Oh my God, I'm aging myself so much right now. So Elizabeth Gilbert and I were both interviewed by the Boston Globe about meditation, and her and I got to talk, and this was before I even wrote the book. And she's like, it was like the most arduous thing that I've ever done, like the hardest thing I've ever done and whatever. And other than the fact that I lost my book, I don't think it was that bad to write this book.
Are you saying you actually talked to Elizabeth Gilbert?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Does she have as nice a voice in person as she does?
It's really weird. Like she does have a nice voice, but it's so strange because I was kind of like agitated by her. And I'll be totally honest with you, because
okay, Elizabeth Gilbert, if you're listening, Katie
I love
is
you.
not part of our podcast.
She actually knows this. No, I told her, I'm like, this really makes me mad that you're saying this because she did her whole book, Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
And all these people, these spiritual seekers from all over the world who've read this book, like look up to her so much, and she doesn't meditate. So she dropped her meditation practice after she came back from that ashram. She never meditated again. So that's why we were being interviewed about meditation because I'm the meditator and she wasn't the meditator.
She was no longer meditating.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I was like, that really pisses me off because you know what a gift it was. And she's just like, I can't do it. And I was like, but you have to. It's like changed your life.
Funny.
Yeah. So it's funny how this person wrote this whole book about eat, praying, and loving. And she's not doing her meditation practice.
When I went to Bali, I went to her healer.
Did you?
And I sat there, in the same spot
Was it
she
amazing?
did. And it's actually because he died, so it's his son.
Yes.
And he had the son,
picture of her?
No, her book was literally over my shoulder. And he looked at me with his accent and he said, "You the same."
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm the same as Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And then I thought, does he mean because I'm a writer or because I'm American?
Right. You're a white American.
What if what if he was like,
what if
he was probably affirmating something to you that you don't even realize?
I'm American, true, but he was totally affirmating I'm like her.
Isn't it funny though, too, like how we think about ourselves as humans? Like you're an author. She's an author.
Yeah.
To other people from the outside looking in, you guys are the same.
Yeah.
But we put all of these crazy I'm not enoughness on ourselves.
Oh, plus I wouldn't want all that responsibility. After she wrote that book.
Oh, believe me, by the way, I'm enough.
Sir, same.
But
you are, Jonathan. You're enough.
For the next 10 years, people said, how are you going to write it? How are you going to follow up that? They put so much pressure on her that she had to do that again.
Absolutely.
And it took her years to get over that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't have that problem. Yay.
Katie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having
coming
me.
on, and we can't
Loved
wait to
it.
read the book.
Yes.
So people will be looking for that in November
Yes.
and then January 1st. Thank you all for listening, and be sure to check out the Writer's Block NH Facebook page and the Writer's Block podcast on your favorite podcast catcher. If you'd like to hear this episode again or share it with a friend, you can head on over to the UnitedPodcastNetwork.tv. That's UnitedPodcastNetwork.tv. Thank you for listening, and we hope to inspire and empower you to tell your own story.
Love it.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.